ever since Nike took over the uniform rights of the NBA a few seasons ago, they started the tradition of dropping a special City Edition uniform. And in this video, we're gonna go through every single team's new City Edition jersey, and we're gonna rank them one by one. So we're gonna see which team has the best jersey and which team has the worst jersey. But it gets better, guys. Not only am I gonna be ranking all of these jerseys, but I'm also going to be giving away 2 City Edition uniforms to 2 of you guys. That's right. So we're doing a giveaway with 2 winners. But which jersey are you going to get if you're selected as the winner? Well, let's take a look. Okay, so before we get into the jerseys and start ranking them, here is how to enter the giveaway. Like I said, I'm going to be giving away 2 jerseys, one here on YouTube and one on Instagram. So all you have to do for the YouTube giveaway is comment on this video. It doesn't matter what you comment. You can comment the best jersey, the worst jersey you saw, or the jersey you're gonna select if you're the winner. It doesn't matter. All you have to do is comment on this video. For the Instagram giveaway, all you have to do is follow me. No liking posts, no extra follows, no commenting on a photo. All you have to do is follow me. It's simple. The link to my Instagram will be in the description box below, as well as with a pinned comment. If you don't have Instagram, you don't have to go there, or you don't want to go there, it's fine. But if you want to double your chances, you can enter in both giveaways. So make sure you do that. But now let's get into these jerseys. All right, so first up, we have the Boston Celtics. Now, most of you guys know I am a Laker fan, so I promise I'll try to be as non-biased as I can throughout the entirety of this video. I mean, they're not bad. I actually think they're pretty clean. You have the Celtics in that white drop shadow font. It's pretty awesome. But my favorite part about this jersey is the back of it. You have that old style last name, which is on the bottom of the number as opposed to the top. It's classic, it's simple. It's kind of refreshing because it hasn't been used before. As we know, the Celtics, they never changed their uniforms since the 40s or the 50s or whenever. So it's nice to see a new Celtics jersey in their library. As a Laker fan, I'm gonna go 8. If the shorts were a little bit better, I'd rank them a little higher because I do think they're classic, they're clean, they're simple, they're not too crazy. So I'm just gonna go with a simple 8 out of 10 for the Celtics. All right, next up, we got the New Jersey Nets. I'm just kidding. We have the Brooklyn Nets, but their new City Edition uniform is inspired by the New Jersey Nets. As you can see here, it uses that classic, navy, white, and red color scheme, but it's a little bit different from what we've seen in the past. So I think a theme of a lot of the City Edition uniforms this season is kind of taking the heritage of the team's history and kind of incorporating it into one jersey. So the Nets one is a perfect example of that. The Nets logo on the chest is actually from the 80s, that Drazen Petrovic era. I do think this is a really cool idea, kind of meshing different eras of jerseys into one uniform. So I'm gonna give it props there, even though I was never really a huge fan of that navy red and white color scheme. I know how unpatriotic. I do like the nostalgia that I'm, ingesting here. So I'm gonna give these an 8.5 out of 10. I like them better than the Celtics, but it's not quite a 9. So 8.5 out of 10 for the Brooklyn Nets, formerly known as the Jersey Nets. All right, so moving over across the bridge, we got the New York Knicks now. If I recall, the Knicks City Edition uniforms, I've never been a huge fan of. I just feel like they could take another step. They've never been as creative as I would like them to be. They're on the right track though. Last year they had the black ones and everyone loves black, but they had this weird grading design. It just looked cheap. It looked like something you would buy off Canal Street, which is where you buy all the fake stuff. But this year, they went even more simple. They kept kind of the black theme, but I gotta be honest, this jersey doesn't really do much for me. Seriously, look at it. It's a black New York Knicks jersey. You do have a kind of unique checkered design on the side, the MSG logo on the bottom of the shorts there. But other than that, this looks like something you would also buy on Canal Street. It's a black edition Knicks uniform. So I'm gonna give this a rating of, 6 out of 10. It's not bad, but it's just not wowing me. Next up, we got the Philadelphia 76ers, and I am absolutely loving what I'm seeing here. Not only did they go really retro, but it's a new take, right? So it's not strictly a throwback. It's kind of taking a bunch of different Sixers eras and meshing them into one. But I love everything here. The font, I love how they went Sixers instead of like just the number 76. I love the Technicolor spectrum on the side. I cannot say enough good things about these. The navy blue, it is dark. They maybe could have gone lighter there, but I just love everything about these. And the video that they dropped to unveil these jerseys is hilarious as well. I'm sure if you're a Sixers fan, you've seen it, but if you're not, definitely go check out that video. The retroness of it absolutely hits hard, just like these jerseys. So I think I'm gonna be giving away a 9.5 here, almost a 10. I feel like the navy could have done something a little bit different there. What would this look like in black? Like they took the AI era jersey black and they put that on here. I think that would look incredible. But as they sit right now, 9.5 out of 10. Almost perfect. So far, the best jersey that we've seen. So the Sixers are at the top right now. Let's see if another team can knock them off the hill. Up next, we got the Toronto Raptors, and this jersey, look guys, I mean, listen, it's clean. Black and gold is an awesome color scheme. I'm not hating on that. The retroness of the jersey, you have that classic Raptors uniform kind of look with the barbed wires in the back, the Raptor mascot on the chest. I mean, everything here is good, but I can't help but feel like we've seen this version of this jersey already. The past 2 seasons, the Raptors have had black and gold uniforms. I get it, it's the connection with OVO, Drake. It makes sense, but I just feel like they should switch things up. If you're a Raptors fan, this is gonna hit with that nostalgia. If you're not a Raptors fan, why would you get this one over the other black and gold jerseys? I mean, I guess it's up to you, but I'm gonna have to give these a solid 8 out of 10 on their own. They're great, but like I said, Toronto, just do something different. Honor your city in a different way. It's not all about Drake. I mean, actually, it kind of is all about Drake in Toronto, but you know what I mean, Raptors. Just do something different. Switch it up. Honor Canada in some way, like Canadian tuxedo one. That would actually be hilarious. Isn't a Canadian tuxedo like just all denim? That as a jersey, I mean, that could work. All right, next up, we got the Chicago Bulls. Everybody loves themselves some Bulls paraphernalia. It's one of the most, popular jerseys in the league, regardless of what fan you are. I mean, I own a Chicago Bulls jersey, this one right here, which I've been wearing the whole video. And their new City Edition uniform for this season is actually inspired by this one. So if you take a look, this is obviously that classic Chicago cursive script font right across the front of the jersey, which is the same that Michael Jordan wore during his rookie season. You have the black pinstripe on the shorts, which is another fan favorite Chicago Bulls era uniform. But I love everything. The drop font on the numbers. The numbers are off to the side a little bit. That classic Chicago. I mean, it's awesome. I'm gonna give these a 9 out of 10. I don't like them as much as the Sixers uniforms, so that's why those were a 9.5 and these are a 9, but still an awesome jersey this season from the Chicago Bulls. Up next, we got the Cleveland Cavaliers, and their jerseys this year is another one of those jerseys that kind of takes previous uniforms from the team's history and meshes it into one. So if you take a look at the shorts, which is a really good example, one side of the shorts has that Cavs logo, which is familiar with like the LeBron James era, Kyrie Irving as well. If you take a look at the other side, that logo of the Cavs is more of like the, I don't know, I guess Ricky Davis era Cavalier team. So that's kind of the idea they're going with here. The chest does have that super nostalgic retro logo with the Cavalier kind of poking his, I don't know, what kind of sword is that? Like a rapier? Is that what a Cavalier uses? The shorts have these different materials, some shiny, some not shiny. Not sure I'm a big fan of that. So, this doesn't hit the nostalgic button for me, but if you're a Cavs fan, maybe it does for you. I don't think they're as bad as the Knicks jersey, so I'm going to give these a 7 out of 10. That may be a little harsh in the eyes of you guys, but for me, it's right on point. 7 out of 10. That's my rating. I actually like the Cavs City Edition uniforms from last season better than these. So for me, these are a step back, and that's why I gave the rating that I gave them. Okay, next up we have the Detroit Pistons. And you know what? Really? This is the best that you could come up with? I mean, look, it is not a bad jersey. Don't get me wrong here. But what I'm trying to say is this should be the Detroit Pistons default jersey. Like, the Pistons are in a terrible need of a rebrand anyways. Like, we've seen their current jerseys for so many seasons now. This should be their default jersey. But as a special edition jersey that we're only going to see for one season, I mean, this just isn't unique enough for me. I mean, the Pistons could have went in a lot of different directions. They could have done the teal or burgundy set jerseys that Grant Hill wore with the flaming horse. That would have been awesome. Maybe they should do a red, white, and blue version of those jerseys, kind of like we're seeing with these other teams. That would be super cool. We've never seen that before. But instead, they just do this, which, again, it's nice. The font face is a little more refined. I love the shades of red and blue. You have multiple shades of blue. It's all bright. It's vibrant. I love that kind of lightning graphic design on the side of the jerseys. But for me, the shorts are way cooler than the top. I'm going to give these a rating of 7.5. I almost wanted to go 8 out of 10, but I feel like they dropped the ball here, so I'm going to demote them a little bit. So I'm going 7.5 out of 10 for Detroit basketball. All right, so next up, we got the Indiana Pacers. And I think for most people, they might think that this year's City Edition uniform for the Pacers is a little too simple. But for me, I actually think that these are really, really clean. Obviously, these are inspired by the Reggie Miller era. When he was a rookie, he kind of wore this same style jersey. And I think the nostalgia absolutely hits all the marks here. I love the color blocking. That yellow pops right off of the navy. You have the white to complement it. I really, really like these. It says Boom Baby on the bottom of the jersey. I'm not really too sure what Boom Baby means, but I'm sure a Pacer fan will let me know in the comment section below. But hey, Pacer fan, before you comment, good job on this year's jersey. I know you had nothing to do about it, but I'm sure you're proud. I actually almost forgot to give these a rating. So I'm gonna give these a rating of 8.5 out of 10. Not quite that Elite 9 club tier, but still pretty awesome. Next up, we got the Milwaukee Bucks. And let me tell you guys, this jersey is absolutely incredible. This is another jersey that takes the heritage of uniforms past in Bucks history and melds them into one. If I'm gonna knock these in any way, I feel like this could be a default Bucks jersey, not a special edition one. They do have that crazy, era jerseys with the buck in the front, so maybe they could have done something more outlandish like that. And let me just tell you guys, if any of these jerseys hit a 9 or above, that means that even though I'm not a Bucks fan or a fan of that team, I would probably buy one of those jerseys myself. That's how clean it is. I'm a collector of jerseys, so these Bucks ones are definitely one that I'd add to my closet. I don't even know how to talk here, but I'm gonna give these a 9 out of 10. I love them that much. All right, next up, we got the Atlanta Hawks with this retro-inspired jersey. And I know retro kills, but for me, this jersey slightly misses the mark. Now, I'll be the first one to admit I am a sucker for 90s nostalgia, and this jersey definitely has some 90s nostalgia. I mean, that logo on the front is straight out of the 90s. The font on the shorts is also from the 90s, but I just feel like they missed the mark here with the color scheme. This mustard yellow, and it's not even the good kind of yellow mustard. It's the kind of pale yellow mustard that you get from the school cafeteria. It's just off for me. So I'm gonna give these a 6.5 out of 10. There's some good things that I like, but there's some things that I really don't like. So I'm gonna go 6.5. All right, so next up, this is a jersey that I could not wait to talk about because my initial reaction when I saw the Hornets jerseys was, wow, those are incredible. But the more I looked at it, the more I kind of sat and kind of let it sink in. There was something that kind of bothered me about them. Now, obviously, everybody loves that Hornets classic teal and purple color scheme. I mean, I'm a fan of it myself, but this jersey definitely has a high dosage of Hornets paraphernalia, right? You got the teal, you got the pinstripes, you got the honeycomb pattern, you got a beautiful Charlotte in cursive across the front of the jersey. My main gripe about these is the fact that they have both pinstripe and that honeycomb pattern. I feel like you kind of have to choose between one or the other because together they just kind of clash. And then on top of all that, you have that gradient design, which just makes for a real clustered look. I feel like they could have just gone a little bit more simple. I feel like the designer, whoever designed this, couldn't choose between all these elements, so they just threw all of the elements into one jersey. So I might still have to give it a 9 just because it is so vibrant, it's so affable. I just kind of want to put my body in the jersey, if you know what I mean. But I feel like I have to punish them a little bit for being too discombobulated. So I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. I hate to do it, but I have to. Next up, we have the Miami Heat with quite possibly the best City Edition uniform of all time. Yes, you heard that correctly. This might just be the best City Edition uniform that we've ever seen because, I mean, just look at them. Not only are they clean, I mean, they have this really cool mismatch with the different eras of Miami Heat history on the uniform, but it's a nice black. It's not one of those faded charcoals. It's a deep black, so it makes those colors pop. But what makes this jersey so cool is you can actually customize this jersey to however you like, which I just think is literally the most unique thing that I've ever seen. It's just such an awesome idea. If you go to their website, you can choose exactly what style number you want from each era of Miami Heat history. So if you want like the 90s era number, you could have that. If you want the Miami Vice era, you have that as well. If you want the LeBron James era, hey, we got that. You choose how you want your jersey to look. I think that is absolutely incredible. Such a great idea. I think more teams should take this idea. In fact, I would have been happy if every City Edition uniform was like this, that kind of mismatched style, and it would let fans just go choose which style that they want on their jerseys. So I'm gonna give this a 10 out of 10. I mean, this is literally the definition of the perfect City Edition jersey. You can customize it, it's unique, it takes the team's history into account. It literally doesn't get any better than this. 10 out of 10. I don't think I ever gave a 10 out of 10 before, so shout out to Miami Heat, the first ever perfect score. All right, so next up, we're going from one of the best jerseys to what I feel like is one of the worst with the Orlando Magic. Now, I don't know why the Magic keep trying to make this gray and orange thing work. I mean, we've seen this in years past, but they keep trying and you gotta give them credit. They're just sticking to what they think's gonna work. But for me, this gray and orange color scheme, it just does not work. I'm not a fan of it. I get the connection to Orange County, Florida. At least I think that's what the connection is, but it just lacks magic. I know that's a terrible pun, but these jerseys aren't that interesting. I mean, the gradient design on the side, I guess, is kind of cool. Everybody loves pinstripes, which this has. And if you take a close look at the pinstripes, it says, "Why not now?" which I don't know what they're trying to say there. Like, why not now? You guys are gonna win a championship? Well, because your team's not good enough? I mean, it's that simple. I just don't get the whole idea. I like that classic retro Magic logo on the front, but the color scheme kills it for me. So I'm gonna give these a 4 out of 10. I cannot be on board with the gray, the orange. It's just not good. I'm sorry. All right, so next up, we got the Washington Wizards. And I have to say, these aren't that bad. I mean, it uses the blue, the red, and the white, but it's also trimmed with a very nice gold, which I think is an awesome touch. But I think the Wizards, they just need a rebrand, man. I mean, the Wizards, that is just such a terrible name for a basketball team, especially one in our nation's capital. I mean, like, it's just bad. I mean, Washington sports teams have really bad luck with the name of their teams, and the Wizards are no different. So, I mean, valiant effort here by the Wizards. So I'm gonna give these a 7 out of 10. I'm not the biggest fan of them. They're just kind of like whatever. Feels more like an alternate jersey than a special edition one. So I'm just gonna give it an average score of 7 and call it a day. Okay, so next up we got the Denver Nuggets, and their jersey is very similar to those Sixer ones. However, I do feel like the Sixers just did it slightly better. For the most part, this and the Sixers jerseys are pretty much identical. I mean, it's a navy jersey. Instead of red, you're getting yellow because obviously the Nuggets, but you have that same kind of retro spectrum design on the side of the jersey. However, with the Nuggets, it's in a diamond pattern, and on the front of the shorts, it kind of leaks onto there. It just doesn't look as clean, as refined to me. I feel like this jersey's good. It's not great, so I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. It's not elite, but it's still very, very solid. All right, so next up, we got the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I think most people are just gonna see these and love what the Timberwolves did with their jerseys this season. But for me, I see these and I say, I've seen that, but done better. Now, right off the bat, this jersey reminds me of the classic Air Bud movies where that dog would always play for some type of Wolves team, whether it was in basketball or football or whatever sport he was playing. But as a whole, I mean, the jersey is nice. Obviously, you have that classic blue and neon green color scheme from the rookie KG era. You have the prime KG era with the same font, as well as that tree line graphic on the piping. So overall, it's nice. I just feel like if I had to choose between this jersey and the retro Black Wolf jerseys, I'm going with the black one almost every time. And this one is just like a more colorful, not as good version as those retro black jerseys. So to me, I've seen this uniform done better, so I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. If it was black, I would no doubt give these a 9 out of 10, but I understand that they kind of just can't run it back all the time. They had to switch things up, so it's decent. I'm sure Timberwolves fans are gonna love these. They're gonna rock them, but for me, as a non-Timberwolves fan, I wish it was black. All right, next up, we got the Oklahoma City Thunder, and what you're seeing here is real. That this is not a joke. Now, I don't know what Oklahoma City is thinking by dropping these, because these are literally just a white jersey. It's not even a new design. We've seen that vertical OKC design before. So not only is the color scheme weak, but the design is weak, and it just feels incomplete. But it is white and gray, so it is technically clean. It just doesn't feel very special at all. It just feels very vanilla, no pun intended. But I tried to look into why they chose this all white color scheme. Maybe there's like a deeper meaning behind it, but I actually couldn't find anything. These are literally just a white out jersey of an Oklahoma City Thunder uniform. So I don't know who designed these. Whoever designed these is pulling a John Wall. They're getting paid without playing at all. I feel like they just forgot to do their homework and they sent this in, and the team was like, yeah, those are cool. We could use those. So I'm gonna give these a 1 out of 10 because, again, it just doesn't feel real. It just feels incomplete. It feels like something's missing. It's just not inspiring whatsoever. So this is by far the worst or most incomplete uniform. It just makes me feel empty inside. So I have to give these a 1. All right, so next up, we got the Portland Trail Blazers, and this shouldn't take too long because honestly, these are pretty simple. Now, to be fair, the Blazers are in somewhat of a tough spot because they've never really changed their color scheme, and their uniforms have been consistent like the Celtics for many, many years. So it's not like they could be these other teams where they add different fonts, logos, and colors and graphics, because for the most part, it's been black, red, and white with the same design, the same font. But what they did come up with is pretty solid. It's black, red, and white. You guys know those are my 3 favorite colors. On the right side of the jersey, you do have that plaid graphic, which is a nod to Dr. Jack. But other than that, it's a pretty straightforward jersey. It feels more like an alternate jersey than a special edition one. So I'm gonna give these a 7.5 out of 10. Slightly above average, but not anything too special. All right, so next up, we got the red hot Golden State Warriors with their City Edition uniforms, and they're kind of like the Knicks. This is their shot at a black jersey. Now, unlike the simple Knicks black uniform, I do feel like this one takes a few more chances. You have that lightning bolt or thunder graphic right there on the side of the top of the jersey, and then the Warriors logo has this really faint like sunburst graphic in the background there, so that's a nice little detail as well. But other than that, that's pretty much all this uniform has to offer. It's black, It's got yellow and blue. I do feel like they could have done more with this city. This is the city edition uniform, so maybe throw, you know, a pride flag on there somewhere, maybe the whole thing. I don't know. I just feel like they could connect to San Francisco more. Maybe like a uniform that's the color of the Golden State Bridge. That actually is something that I've wanted for a couple of years now. But what we got, it's simple, it's clean. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 7.5 out of 10. Next up, we got the Los Angeles Clippers. And as a Laker fan, I pledge to give an honest and fair review of this City Edition uniform, which as you can see here, it's actually pretty clean. Now this uniform's color scheme with that nice Pacific blue and orange is actually inspired by the Clippers' relocation to San Diego in the 70s. Before that, they were in Buffalo, which you could see with the logo on the strap of the shorts. And then moving up to the top, you have that classic Clippers cursive logo. What I found interesting is the unveil video for this uniform where they showed the players on the team. Those guys seem to really like it. So I have a feeling that this is a uniform that looks really awesome in person. I'll never know because I don't ever want to go to a Clippers game, and I will never wear a Clippers jersey as a Laker fan. But with all that pushed to the side, I will give these a solid 8 out of 10. It's clean. It just looks really refreshing and vibrant. So I can't hate too much. 8 out of 10 is my score. All right, next up, we got my team, the Los Angeles Lakers, with their City Edition jersey. And I am a Laker fan, but you know what? This one, it's not their best City Edition uniform. I think for most people, including myself, the Black Mamba City Edition jerseys are hands down one of the best City Edition uniforms we've ever seen, but especially for the Lakers. And this season, they kind of take that same heritage approach with a bunch of different logos from different eras. For the most part, the color scheme is unique. It's like a purple with a little bit of blue. You're not getting any of that classic Laker gold, which I think is a huge missed opportunity. But they went with more a purple and blue color scheme, which reminds me more of the Hornets. But I'm gonna give these a rating of 8 out of 10. It's not quite elite. I'm not really too sure if I'm gonna pick up one for myself as a Laker fan. Maybe when I go to the arena and I see it right there on the shelf, it's just kind of calling to me. But from where I'm sitting right now, it's good, it's just not great. Next up, we got the Sacramento Kings with another black jersey, but this time around, it actually really works. As we all know, the golden era of the Sacramento Kings was the Chris Paul, Mike Bibby, Jason Williams, Peja Stojakovic kind of era. And this year's City Edition uniform is kind of similar to it, but it takes a slightly different approach. Instead of that Kings font, you have this classic Sacktown font in cursive. But overall, I mean, the black, the purple, the white, it just works more so than like the Knicks jersey or even the Warriors jersey where they're trying to do black as well. This one, it actually is in the team history to wear black, so we're gonna give them bonus points there. This is a solid jersey that if you're a Kings fan, I think you should be pretty excited for. So again, I'm gonna give my third 8 in a row out of 10. All right, so next up we got the Dallas Mavericks, who I've been saying for the past couple seasons really needs to switch up their uniform game. We've been having the same jerseys for way too long now. But this City Edition uniform is good, but I'm not sure this was exactly what I was thinking. For me, I've always kind of wanted the Mavericks to go back to that classic saloon style font, and this City Edition uniform definitely has that. It even has the cowboy hat right there on the D, which I think is awesome, but also super pause. But what ruins this jersey for me is that weird shiny material on the side. I don't really know if I'm a big fan of that. If I am, I just think it's a little too thick. Also, another super pause. I just think that it's just not that refined. I'm gonna give these a 7.5 out of 10. Something is missing about them. I don't know if it's that shiny material or it just doesn't pop as much as I would like it to, but I just can't quite get there with an 8. So I'm gonna go with the 7.5. Next up, we got the Houston Rockets, and these guys are giving a heavy dose of nostalgia, which you guys know I am absolutely a fan of. I don't know if I would pick these over a classic retro Rockets jersey, but I think this is a nice consolation prize if you can't find one of the more classic retro jerseys. So it's awesome. My one complaint about this year's City Edition jersey for the Rockets is the court. They did not go back to that awesome 90s court where they had the rocket exploding on the sideline. I mean, I feel like they should go back to that. They need to have that court back. It was one of the most unique courts in NBA history. So aside from that, awesome jersey. But seriously, Houston, get your act together. All right, so next up, we got the Memphis Grizzlies City Edition uniform, which takes an alternate approach to the jersey that I'm wearing, which I've been wearing this whole video. But this jersey takes this one and just does it worse. So while I totally understand what the Grizzlies are trying to do here, right? They're taking the Vancouver era jerseys and they're slapping the Memphis era color scheme onto it. But to me, it just makes it worse, right? I mean, if you're not gonna make it better, why would you do it? I mean, when I look at these, I just much rather, if I was a Grizzlies fan, have the classic Vancouver Grizzlies era uniform instead of these. But to me, I'd much rather have the one that I'm wearing right now than these ones. But I like the idea, I like the effort. So I'm not gonna be too harsh on the rating. I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10. Not quite an 8, definitely not elite, but it's still a solid outing. All right, so next up, we got the New Orleans Pelicans with their City Edition jersey, which, you know what? It's not bad. I've always been a fan of the Pelicans color scheme, and this one uses that to perfection. But I look at this and I just think, is that the best you could do, New Orleans? I mean, honestly, this just looks like, if I didn't tell you this was a City Edition uniform, you would just think this is the Pelicans uniform or an alternate uniform. It is that basic, but again, it's not bad. Like I said earlier about the Raptors always using black and gold, and they should just kind of do something different. The team that needs black and gold is the Pelicans. Maybe they should do a Saints-inspired one. I feel like that community would really like that idea. But what we got instead is just kind of this clean but kind of uninspiring City Edition uniform. So I'm gonna give these a 7.5 out of 10. Love the color scheme. I love the font. I've always loved the font, but it's really no different from the uniforms that they've always been wearing. So no points for creativity, 7.5 out of 10. All right, so last but definitely not least, we have the San Antonio Spurs with their Fiesta uniform. So for the past couple of seasons, the Spurs have really been leaning into this Fiesta color scheme, which is part of their heritage. And I'm absolutely here for it. I mean, that Fiesta color scheme is just absolutely beautiful. But then you got a splash of that black and silver classic Spurs color scheme as well. But the rest of the uniform, it's playful, it's bright, it's vibrant, it's clean. It just feels San Antonio. I'm sure the community loves it there, and it just feels Spurs, so I'm sure NBA fans are gonna love these as well. As for my rating, I really did want to give these a 10, but I do think the Heat uniform is just one of the most creative uniforms that I've ever seen. So if those are a 10, I can't give these a 10 because I don't want this video to end in a tie. I want a clear-cut winner. So just by that, I gotta give these a 9.5 out of 10, which as a Laker fan, I mean, come on, that's pretty good. I'm supposed to hate the Spurs, but in reality, I'm actually a little bit jealous because your guys' City Edition uniform is way better than ours this year. So I'm happy for Spurs fan. That's my final rating for these Fiesta ones. 9.5 out of 10. Almost took the #1 spot, but not quite. All right, so there you guys have it. That was every City Edition uniform of this season ranked. If you're wondering where the Suns and the Jazz are, those two teams are actually rocking the same uniforms as last season. But the good news is that those two uniforms are actually pretty cool. So I am bummed out we didn't get new ones, but at least they're good uniforms. Remember guys, there is a giveaway. All you gotta do is comment on this video, any comment, as well as follow me on Instagram, and I'll be selecting 2 winners and giving them a free City Edition uniform of their choice. So double your odds. Follow me on Instagram and comment on this video. That's all you have to do. You're entered in the giveaway. If you enjoyed this video, leave me a thumbs up because it helps me out a ton. My name's Jaren. It's been great having you. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.